Chapter 569. As soon as Lu Ming appeared, the zombie guards were startled. "Who's there?" "Kid, it's you. You're courting death." A few cold shouts were heard. The two zombie guards at the 7th level Martial King realm recognized Lu Ming instantly. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Two powerful refined corpses of LV7 Martial King realm blocked Lu Ming's path of retreat. They had learned their lesson this time. They had blocked the path at the beginning, fearing that Lu Ming would escape again. "It seems like you've had a great harvest recently." Lu Ming's eyes flickered with a fiery glow. As far as he knew, the people of the Heavenly Corpse sect rarely practiced the 9 common intents. The Heavenly Corpse sect mostly practiced a special intent, known as the intent of death. Therefore, the people of the Heavenly Corpse sect would never use the ultimacy crystals they had excavated. Most of them were stored in their storage rings, waiting to be exchanged for resources. "Hee hee, not bad, kid. Too bad, you can only be envious. Kill!" A 7th layer Martial King zombie guard let out a hollow laugh and uttered a sudden roar. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two 7th layer Martial King zombie guards behind Lu Ming immediately attacked Lu Ming. In front of them, another 7th layer Martial King zombie was controlling 2 zombies to surround Lu Ming. "This time, it's you who are going to die!" The Wind Thunder spear appeared in his hand as he lashed out. A full moon appeared in the sky. Bang! 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 The spear glow accurately struck the 4 7th layer Martial King zombies. The 4 zombies were sent flying like 4 cannonballs, crashing into a few mountains 10,000 meters away. Explosions could be heard as dust filled the air. The mountains collapsed from the impact, sending debris flying everywhere. All the zombie guards were astounded, especially the 2 7th layer Martial King zombie guards. They could no longer sense the presence of the 4 zombies. In other words, the 4 zombies had been destroyed. How was this possible? Zombies had copper skin and iron bones, which were impenetrable. Even an 8th layer Martial King expert would not be able to destroy a 7th layer Martial King zombie so easily. However, Lu Ming's spear had destroyed 4 7th layer Martial King zombies? The 2 7th layer Martial King zombie guards' faces turned pale. "Let's go!" Without hesitation, the 2 7th layer Martial King zombie guards fled into the distance. "It's too late to run away!" Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared behind the 2 zombie guards. The long spear smashed toward the 2 of them with the force of Mount Tai. 1,000-meter long, incomparably huge spearlight crushed down on the 2 zombie guards. The 2 zombie guards were trying their best to counterattack. However, the zombie guards' combat power was weak. How could it stop Lu Ming? Bang! The spear glow was the 2 7th layer Martial King zombie guards. "Run, run!" When the other zombie guards saw this scene, they were scared out of their wits and fled in all directions one after another. "Devour!" Roar! The 9 dragons' bloodline flew out and roared. A terrifying devouring force burst out from its mouth and covered the zombies. "Ah, what's going on? Why can't I run anymore? My essence blood! My essence blood is flying out! Save me!" The zombies screamed in horror. However, the next moment, swoosh! Swoosh! Drops of blood essence were devoured by the zombies and flew into the mouth of the 9 dragons' bloodline. Once the blood essence was devoured, their vitality was gone. More than 30 zombie guards had all falling to the ground. Whoosh! The 9 dragons' bloodline devoured the blood essences of the 2 7th layer Martial King realm corpse guards. Then, Lu Ming waved his hand and his true essence formed many thin threads. He took off the storage rings of the zombies and put them away by Lu Ming. "Let's find a place to refine the blood essence, and then count them." With a move, Lu Ming left the place. Tens of thousands of miles away, Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and started to refine the blood essence. This time, Lu Ming used all the blood essence to improve the second bloodline. The blood essence of 2 7th layer Martial King zombies and more than 30 other zombies was extremely rich. Soon, The second bloodline vibrated slightly and the seventh silver chakra appeared. 7th level Martial King bloodline. The blood essence of a martial king at the greater success stage was indeed extraordinary. Buzz. The second bloodline vibrated slightly, and the clouds covering the stone steel seemed to have thinned. There was a blurry word on the top of the stone steel. Lu Ming opened his eyes wide and looked at it carefully. Suppress. There seemed to be the word suppress at the top of the stone steel. Suppress? Is this stone steel called the suppress something steel? Lu Ming was curious. It was a pity that he could only vaguely see this word. He could not see the other words. It will all appear sooner or later. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. Then, he took out the storage rings of the zombies and started to count them. There were a total of 33 storage rings. Lu Ming first checked the storage ring of a 7th-layer Martial King zombie guard. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Piles of power Upanishad crystals were piled up in his storage ring. There were too many of them. There were at least 500 of them in each pile. Not only were there profound crystals of the 9 common intents, but there were also some special intents. For example, star profound crystals, berserk profound crystals, etc. There were a total of 13 types of profound crystals. Of course, the number of special profound crystals was much less, but there were still more than 100 of them. There were a few metal boxes next to these profound crystals. Lu Ming opened them and found that they were all middle-grade profound crystals. There were a total of 30 middle-grade profound crystals. Lu Ming almost drooled. My nest, this place is really a peerless treasure. Lu Ming's eyes emitted a fiery light. He then checked the other storage rings. There was no doubt that the 2 7th-layer Martial King zombie guards had the most profound crystals, but the other 30 zombies also had a lot of profound crystals. In the end, Lu Ming found that there were about 20,000 profound crystals. Yes, there were more than 20,000 profound crystals and 108 middle-grade profound crystals. I'm rich, really rich. If these profound crystals were taken to Tianxian City, the whole city would be shaken. Except for the profound crystals, Lu Ming did not count the rest. He was too lazy to count them now. He would count them later when he had time. Killing these Heavenly Corpse sect zombie guards is the fastest way to get profound crystals. If I were to dig them myself, how long would it take? Lu Ming decided to go out and hunt the zombies to get the profound crystals. Not long after, Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and searched the area. Unfortunately, within 100,000 li, he only encountered a small group of zombie guards. The strongest one was only a 5th-layer Martial King, and was easily killed by Lu Ming. This small group only had a little more than 1,000 profound crystals. It seems that I have to search further away. Chapter 570. Bang! Bang! Half a day later, explosions could be heard above a mountain more than 100,000 li away. A few figures were fighting fiercely. Extreme Dao Strike! Puchi! A middle-aged zombie guard was pierced through the forehead by Lu Ming's spear and died unwillingly. It seems like I should have no problem killing a peak 8th-layer Martial Emperor Realm zombie guard with my extreme Dao attack. However, zombie guards are still weaker than ordinary cultivators. With my current strength, I'm still no match for a 9th-layer Martial Emperor Realm Greater Success Stage zombie guard. Lu Ming put away his spear and pondered. Dozens of corpses were lying on the ground below, all of which were zombie guards. Not long ago, Lu Ming had come here and encountered these zombie guards, and a battle had broken out. The leader of these zombie guards was actually a zombie guard at the peak of the 8th Martial King realm. Lu Ming unleashed all his combat power to kill all these zombie guards. His true yuan swept across and collected all the storage rings. Lu Ming found a place and started counting. The harvest this time was even greater than the last time. All the profound crystals added up to almost 30,000 pieces. Crazy, too crazy. Even with Lu Ming's calmness, his heart could not help but tremble. Profound crystals were not something that could be measured by price. If he took them out, countless people would fight for them. Now, should I cultivate first or hunt down the zombie guards of the Heavenly Corpse sect? Lu Ming pondered. I'd better cultivate first. It seems that I won't be able to go back for a while. I might as well reach the greater success stage in one go. That way, I won't be afraid of anyone except those giant beasts in this place. Lu Ming made up his mind and took out a thunder profound crystal. He planned to comprehend the thunder intent first. After all, his thunder intent was lagging behind the other two intents. He planned to use a low-grade thunder profound crystal to raise his thunder intent to the peak of the first level minor success stage, then use a mid-grade thunder profound crystal to break through to the first level greater success stage. Bang! Lu Ming crushed a thunder profound crystal, closed his eyes, and began to comprehend. However, in less than a minute, Lu Ming opened his eyes. What's going on? Why did the intent domain in the crystal disappear for no reason? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with bewilderment. When he was cultivating just now, he discovered that he couldn't absorb even the slightest trace of the concept. It had completely disappeared. One more time. I want to see what's going on. Lu Ming took out another piece and crushed it. This time, Lu Ming did not start comprehending, but carefully observed. In the end, he was dumbfounded to discover that all of the concept threads flew towards the space between his eyebrows and were absorbed by the thunder cauldron in his sea of consciousness. Nest, it can't be, right? Lu Ming was flabbergasted. Shi Yan hadn't used the Thunder Upanishad crystal before, so he hadn't noticed this problem. This thunder cauldron was actually fighting with him for the concept of thunder thread. Lu Ming didn't give up. He crushed a few more thunder profound crystals, but the result was the same. Lu Ming crushed another crystal, but the lightning cauldron didn't react at all. Nest, you don't have to do this, right? XXXX. Lu Ming was speechless. He felt an urge to vomit blood. Like this, wouldn't he have to honestly comprehend the concept of thunder? He couldn't use the profound crystals to speed up his cultivation. His plan to crazily increase his cultivation was going to be ruined. Because no matter how fast he comprehended the other concepts, it was useless if the concept of thunder didn't catch up. Heavens, why are you playing with me like this? Looking at the huge pile of thunder profound crystals in his storage ring, Lu Ming heaved a long sigh. Then, Lu Ming's consciousness appeared in his sea of consciousness. Looking at the thunder cauldron, he gnashed his teeth. He wished he could throw this thunder cauldron away. But it was just a thought. Not to mention whether he could do it or not, even if he couldn't bear to do it. Forget it, I'll just honestly comprehend it. Lu Ming sat cross-legged under the thunder cauldron and began to comprehend the concept of thunder. Fortunately, the enlightenment ancient tree was placed next to Lu Ming. Even if he was in his sea of consciousness, it was still 10 times more effective than usual. After all, his sea of consciousness was only in the space between his eyebrows. Lu Ming calmed down and began to comprehend the concept of thunder. Even without the profound crystals, with the help of the thunder cauldron and the enlightenment ancient tree, Lu Ming's comprehension of the concept of thunder was incomparably fast. It was 100 times faster than others. 10 days later, Lu Ming's comprehension of the concept of thunder had reached the peak of the first level. But breaking through to the first level wasn't so easy. He needed to accumulate experience. At this time, Lu Ming had already been here for over a month. I have to quickly find a way to leave. There's only 3.5 months until senior apprentice Sister Mulin's and the Sacred Star's wedding. Lu Ming frowned. But right now, he was still at a loss as to how to leave. Lu Ming decided to look for a way to leave while hunting the zombie guards. After leaving the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming flew in a straight line in one direction. At this time Dandan, who was hanging from his hair, flew out. Its body glowed and trembled slightly. Then, it flew quickly in a direction. What's going on? What did Dandan find? Lu Ming was a little confused. He flew after Dandan. After flying for about 10,000 miles, a huge mountain covered in dark red fog appeared in front of them. The surroundings of the mountain were deathly silent. There were no plants, no living creatures. That mountain peak was filled with a dark red mist. One look and one could tell that it was an evil being. Dandan flew to the mountain, trembling slightly. It seemed to be very excited. Then, it flew into the mountain. Lu Ming also flew in. Kill! Kill! When Lu Ming came into contact with the dark red fog, earth-shattering screams rang in his mind. He realized that the scene around him had changed. It had become a purgatory on earth. Millions of corpses were lying on the ground. Blood flowed like a river. Countless powerful beings were fighting. Lu Ming saw a true dragon flying in the sky, but it was torn in half by a demonic shadow as tall as the sky. Lu Ming saw a phoenix flying across the sky, but its wings were cut off by a demonic shadow. A human expert slashed open the sky with his sword, but he was killed by a demonic shadow with a punch. Unimaginable scenes appeared before Lu Ming's eyes. The terrifying killing intent almost made Lu Ming's mind collapse. At this time, Lu Ming felt a force pulling him. The surroundings changed. He was still at the edge of the mountain. The 9 dragons' bloodline surrounded him. The devouring power erupted and blocked the dark red fog. Lu Ming let out a long breath. The dark red fog was too strange. It was so dangerous just now. Lu Ming almost had a mental breakdown. What was that scene just now? Was it a real battle that happened in history? Lu Ming was curious. Dandan. Then, Lu Ming rushed into the mountain with the protection of the 9 dragons' bloodline. Chapter 571. On the peak, there was a broken wing. There was a divine light shining on it, which was extremely mysterious. Most importantly, this wing was very similar to the scene Lu Ming saw just now. A phoenix's wing was cut off. This was a phoenix wing. Lu Ming felt that his heart was about to jump to his throat. What was a phoenix? It was an ancient divine beast, an existence on par with the true dragon. It was an invincible existence, and extremely powerful. It had been extinct in the divine wilderness continent for many years. But now, he actually saw such a wing here. What made Lu Ming dumbfounded the most was that Dandan was actually eating this wing. She saw Dandan grow to 100 meters tall. On the eggshell, there was a huge crack, and she was biting the wing bit by bit. Moreover, it was very fast. Dandan ate more than half of the wing in a few bites. Even the feathers on it were not spared. Damn, leave some for me! Lu Ming shouted and rushed forward. But as soon as Lu Ming approached, he felt a terrifying aura acting on his body. Waves of tearing pain came. Lu Ming felt that his body was almost torn apart. Shocked, Lu Ming hurriedly retreated. What a terrifying aura! This might really be a phoenix wing. After countless years of death, its aura has not dissipated. Ordinary people can't get close at all. Lu Ming thought in shock. But Dandan, that beast, was not affected at all. It was still eating. Soon, the whole wing was eaten by Dandan. Only a few feathers were left. Beast! Lu Ming screamed at the top of his lungs. But after Dandan finished eating, it returned to the size of a human head and fell on the peak, motionless. But its surface was emitting a faint light. After the wing was eaten, the terrifying aura also disappeared. Lu Ming walked over. Dandan! Lu Ming patted Dandan, but Dandan did not move. Could it be that this fellow has eaten too much and needs to digest it? Lu Ming hugged Dandan with both hands, trying to lift Dandan up. However, he found that Dandan was heavier than a mountain and could not be lifted at all. Lu Ming was speechless. It seemed that he would have to wait here for a while. Lu Ming looked around. He discovered that there were still a few feathers left on the mountain peak. Lu Ming hurriedly ran over to pick them up. There were a total of 5 feathers, each about half a meter long. They were the shortest on that wing. They were considered mixed feathers, which was why they fell off. Even so, the 5 feathers were sparkling and translucent. They were fiery red in color, as if they were polished from fiery jade. An astonishing aura was emitted from them. Lu Ming had to use all of his strength to resist. This is also a supreme treasure. I'll keep it first. Lu Ming took out a storage ring and put away the 5 feathers. Then, he looked around, but unfortunately, he did not find anything else. Forget it. I'll cultivate while waiting for Dandan. Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and continued to comprehend the Thunder Essence. Every day, Lu Ming's comprehension of the Thunder Essence improved by leaps and bounds. This cultivation lasted for half a month. Lu Ming had the help of the ancient tree of enlightenment and the lightning cauldron. Half a month of cultivation was equivalent to more than 4 years of cultivation for others. Lu Ming felt that his Thunder Essence was about to break through to the greater mastery of the first level. He was only a step away. At this moment, Lu Ming sensed that something was amiss outside and left the Temple of Paragon. At this moment, Dandan's body was emitting a strong light. It was as bright as a small sun. A terrifying amount of life essence rippled out. Crack! Suddenly, Lu Ming heard a slight crack on Dandan's body. A small crack appeared. Could it be that Dandan is about to hatch? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Dandan was spat out from the gate of heaven. It was very mysterious and was not afraid of any energy attacks. It had a huge appetite. It could even eat the heavenly tribulation and phoenix wings. Lu Ming had always been curious. What was Dandan? What kind of creature would it be when it hatched? Now, the answer was finally going to be revealed. Crack! Another sound came from the eggshell. Treasure! There's a treasure here! Suddenly, an excited shout was heard. Ha ha ha, this treasure is not ordinary. It's ours! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out as dozens of zombie guards appeared with refined corpses. Brat, this treasure is not something you can see. Die! A zombie guard saw Lu Ming and controlled a refined corpse to attack Lu Ming. All of you must die. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as the bloodline of the 9 dragons appeared. He opened his mouth and inhaled. Among the dozens of zombie guards, those who were below the level of a phenomenal success king had their blood essence devoured by Lu Ming and died an unnatural death. The remaining 2 zombie guards, one of them was a 7th level martial king while the other was an 8th level martial king. They looked at Lu Ming in a daze, their eyes full of horror. What martial skill was Lu Ming using? He had killed dozens of zombie guards with a single move. Kill! Lu Ming stepped forward and charged at the 2 zombie guards. Bang! Bang! In less than 10 moves, the 2 zombie guards were killed by Lu Ming. All their storage rings fell into Lu Ming's hands. Meanwhile, more cracks appeared on Dandan's eggshell. Lu Ming stared at Dandan while refining the blood essence. A few minutes later, with a bang, the eggshell cracked completely. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. A fist-sized turtle appeared in front of Lu Ming's eyes. The turtle stood with legs like a human, and its 2 front legs were like human hands. It stretched its waist. Ha ha ha, I've finally come back to life. Experts of this world tremble. Beauties of this world, open your hearts and wait for my arrival. Ha! The little turtle could speak human language and roared at the sky. However, its voice was very young, like a 3-year-old child. It sounded very funny. Lu Ming's eyelids twitched and his lips trembled. What the hell? What the hell hatched from the eggshell? It was one thing to hatch a turtle, but it was actually a talking turtle, an extremely narcissistic one. Lu Ming was completely speechless. After a while he said, Dandan. Before he could finish, he was interrupted. What Dandan? If you call me Dandan again, I won't spare you. In the past, I was a turtle under the eaves, so I endured it. But in the future, you better behave yourself. The little turtle scolded with its 2 front legs on the turtle shell like a peerless expert. It was just that its young voice didn't have the slightest deterrence. Dandan, what are you? You can talk as soon as you were born. Where are your parents? Lu Ming was extremely curious. Junior, shut up. Let me tell you, I am the leader of the top 10 war beasts. I have been invincible since ancient times. I live as long as heaven and earth and shine as bright as the sun and the moon. Where did my parents come from? I said, if you call me Dandan again, I will be angry with you. The little turtle stretched out a claw and pointed at Lu Ming, his eyes wide open. Top 10 war beasts? Dandan, what is that? Lu Ming asked curiously. You, Chapter 572. The pair of tortoise eyes rolled around twice, as if it was deep in thought. After a while, it let out a few dry coughs and said, "Back then, I went through a fierce battle and was severely injured. I had no choice but to turn into an egg. After countless years, I was reborn. As I have just been reborn, my memories are still incomplete. As for what the top 10 battle beasts are, I can't remember them clearly." "You can't remember?" Lu Ming looked at Dandan suspiciously and said, "Then you should be very strong, right? Ahem, didn't I tell you that I was seriously injured back then? Now that I have just been reborn, I haven't recovered much of my strength." Dandan put a turtle claw to its mouth and coughed a few times in a very human-like manner. "Dandan, you're not fooling me, are you?" Lu Ming looked at Dandan with a face of disbelief. Dandan was very intelligent before. Lu Ming suspected that Dandan had learned to speak before it was hatched, so after it hatched, it pretended to be an expert and fooled him. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. As for the rebirth of the strong and the top 10 battle beasts, he didn't believe it at all. "Boy, you dare to doubt me? Well, in order to convince you, I will give you a good fortune now." Dandan put its hands behind its back and looked unhappy. "Oh? What good fortune?" Lu Ming laughed. "Previously, I felt that there was a place not far away with a treasure. Now I will take you to get it and convince you." Dandan snorted coldly. "What treasure?" Lu Ming was very curious. If I'm not wrong, it should be the mysterious yellow silicon earth. It can absorb all the energy of heaven and earth, transform it into its own energy, and cultivate peerless spiritual herbs." Dandan smiled proudly. "What? Mysterious yellow silicon earth? Is it true?" Lu Ming was shocked. The mysterious yellow silicon soil was a kind of peerless treasure. It was produced at the beginning of the world. It was a peerless divine soil used to cultivate spirit herbs and spirit medicines. In ancient times, even in ancient times, the most powerful people in the world would use mysterious yellow silicon to cultivate spiritual herbs. However, Xianhuang silicon was extremely rare. It was usually sold in taels. Even a tael could be sold for a sky-high price. Lu Ming immediately thought of the Tao Comprehension ancient tree. If he had the profound yellow silicon, then the problem of cultivating it would be much simpler. Now, the clear spring water stored in the jade box of the Tree of Enlightenment was almost empty. Finding spiritual liquid to cultivate it was of utmost importance. Come with me." Dandan smiled proudly. With his hands behind his back, he stepped into the air and flew towards the distance at an extremely fast speed. Although Lu Ming was skeptical, he still followed him. About 50,000 li away from Lu Ming, within a radius of 1,000 li, there was nothing but desolation, not even a blade of grass grew. 2 figures were flying in the air. If Lu Ming was here, he would be able to recognize them at a glance. One of them was the Temple Master of Thunder, and the other was the Temple Master of Fire. "Hey, there's a medicinal fragrance coming from that direction." Suddenly, the Temple Master of Fire stopped. "Medicinal fragrance?" The Temple Master of Thunder was a little confused. "It can't be wrong. I usually do alchemy part-time and am extremely sensitive to the smell of spiritual herbs. It's not far ahead," the Temple Master of Fire said. "There aren't many spiritual herbs in this world. It's definitely extraordinary that there are spiritual herbs in this barren land. Let's go and take a look." The Temple Master of Thunder's eyes lit up. The two of them moved forward quickly. Soon, a mound appeared in front of them. The medicinal fragrance was coming from that mound. Around the mound, it was also barren. However, there were 7 stalks of spiritual herbs growing on the mound. "That's the 7 knots grass. What's going on? Why is it emitting such terrifying medicinal properties?" The two of them were shocked when they saw it. This was because the 7 knots grass was a very common spiritual herb. It was a level 1 spiritual herb and to them, it was trash. However, the 7 stalks of 7 knots grass in front of them were crystal clear. They were surrounded by a divine glow, and emitted a strong medicinal fragrance. They were not level 1 spiritual herbs but level 6 spiritual herbs. Furthermore, they were level 6 spiritual herbs of the highest grade. What kind of place was this? How could a level 1 spiritual herb become a level 6 spiritual herb of the highest grade? Mysterious yellow silicon soil! That's the mysterious yellow silicon soil! The Temple Master of Fire looked below the 7 knots grass. His eyes suddenly widened in disbelief. Below the 7 knots grass was a type of soil that was red and yellow in color. Terrifying spiritual energy was emitted from the soil. This was the mysterious yellow silicon soil. What? The mysterious yellow silicon soil! The Thunder Palace Master was also shocked. His eyes were wide open, and immediately after, a burning greed appeared in his eyes. Looking at the area, it was about 1 meter square. How much did it weigh? One must know that in the outside world, in a small domain like the Tianxian domain, it was impossible to find a treasure like the mysterious yellow silicon soil. Only in some of the larger domains, the mysterious yellow silicon soil could be found. However, it was extremely rare and sold by the price of 2. However, no one knew how much it weighed here. Ha ha ha, I'm rich! I'm rich! The Temple Master of Fire was grinning from ear to ear. Compared to the mysterious yellow silicon soil, the 7 stalks of upper level 6-7 knots grass were not as eye-catching. Old man Hua, since we found it together, how about we split it equally? The Temple Master of Thunder said. All right, no problem. The Temple Master of Fire nodded his head and stared at the mysterious yellow silicon soil. Old man Hua, you are more proficient in refining medicine. You will be in charge of digging the mysterious yellow silicon soil. I will stand guard at the side. The Temple Master of Thunder said. All right. The Temple Master of Fire nodded his head and flew toward the mound with a burning gaze. At this moment, a sinister look flashed across the Temple Master of Thunder's eyes. A lightning sword appeared in his hand and he stabbed it toward the Temple Master of Fire's back. The Temple Master of Fire never expected that the Temple Master of Thunder, whom he had known for a few hundred years, would attack him. He was caught off guard and was stabbed directly. Poochie! The lightning sword pierced through the Temple Master of Fire's chest. Ah! The Temple Master of Fire let out an earth-shattering roar. A flaming lion appeared and pounced toward the Temple Master of Thunder. The Temple Master of Thunder pulled out his sword and retreated 1,000 meters to avoid the flaming lion's attack. Why? The Temple Master of Fire turned around and looked at the Temple Master of Thunder with bloodshot eyes. Hee, such a big piece of mysterious yellow silicon soil. Isn't it a pity to split it equally between the 2 of us? Wouldn't it be great if I kept it alone? Also, I've been eyeing the profound crystals in your storage ring for a long time. The Temple Master of Thunder sneered. You deserve to die! You deserve to die! The Temple Master of Fire roared. I deserve to die? Ha ha! The one who will die now is you! The Temple Master of Thunder laughed maniacally. Lightning flashed on his body and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Stop! At that moment, a furious roar could be heard as a figure dashed toward them at a rapid pace. Whoosh! The figure appeared and it was Lu Ming. On his shoulder stood the little turtle, Dandan. Chapter 573. Lu Ming! Little bastard, it's you? As soon as Lu Ming arrived, the Fire Palace Master and the Thunder Palace Master exclaimed. Lu Ming glanced at the Fire Palace Master and sighed. The Fire Palace Master's heart had been pierced by the Thunder Palace Master. Moreover, the Thunder Palace Master was ravaged by the Thunder Palace Master. There was no way he could save himself. If not for the Fire Palace Master's profound cultivation, he would have already died. Lu Ming, leave quickly! Leave quickly! The Fire Palace Master shouted. Leave? Where should I go? Lu Ming, you still dare to appear. Last time, you were lucky enough to escape. This time, you're still as stupid as before. Ha! You're really courting death. The Thunder Palace Master laughed heartily. He laughed heartily. This time, not only could he obtain the mysterious yellow silicon soil, but he could also get rid of Lu Ming. Naturally, he was overjoyed. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He did not reply, but sent a voice transmission to Dandan. Dandan, you said that you're a peerless expert. Can you kill this old man with a slap now? Lu Ming asked. Cough cough, didn't I tell you? I've just been reborn, and my strength hasn't recovered yet. I'm afraid I'm no match for him. But you have to believe me. When I was at my peak, I could kill thousands of Sea of Spirit Realm warriors with a single breath, let alone this kind of trash. Even if it was a martial emperor expert, I could kill them with a single slap. Dandan stood on Lu Ming's shoulder and sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming proudly. Lu Ming was speechless. Kill! Suddenly, the Thunder Palace Master shouted. With a flash of lightning, he slashed at Lu Ming with his sword. Berserk Lion bursting flames! The Fire Palace Master roared as a blazing aura erupted from his body. A huge flaming lion rushed out and charged at the Thunder Palace Master. True Dragon Strike! Lu Ming stabbed out with his spear. Boom! With a loud boom, the Thunder Palace Master floated back. Lu Ming and the Fire Palace Master also floated back dozens of meters. Puff! The Fire Hall Master coughed out large mouthfuls of blood as his body trembled. He was unable to float in the air and fell to the ground. Senior! Lu Ming waved his hand, and his quintessence wrapped around the Fire Hall Master, bringing him to the ground. Lu Ming, run! You're no match for him! The Fire Hall Master roared as blood spurted out from his mouth. There were even traces of lightning in the blood. Ha ha ha, old man Hua, you're about to die. If you still want to attack, you'll only die faster. You don't have to ask him to escape. Do you think he can escape from me? The Thunder Palace Master sneered, his eyes cold. Old man, the one who will die today is you. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely cold. There were no living beings here. Lu Ming decided to take a risk and use the Thunder Cauldron to kill the Thunder Palace Master. I was the one who died. Ha ha ha, this is the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life. The Thunder Palace Master burst out laughing. Following this, his face darkened as he yelled, Die! Buzz buzz, thunderbolts gathered in the heavens and earth, forming a giant thunderbolt sword that slashed down at Lu Ming. True Dragon Strike. Boom! Lu Ming's cultivation was fully unleashed as the three-colored intent merged together, and he thrust out his spear. A huge tricolor dragon flew out, roaring furiously. Boom! With a loud explosion, Lu Ming's body shuddered as he retreated rapidly. However, the thunderbolt sword of the Thunder Palace Master was blocked by Lu Ming. Not far away, the Fire Hall Master was dumbfounded. He had not expected Lu Ming to be able to block the attack of the Thunder Palace Master. Impossible! How is this possible? The Thunder Palace Master yelled in disbelief. In such a short period of time, Lu Ming's cultivation had skyrocketed to the peak of the LV6 Martial King realm, and his combat strength was extremely terrifying. The Thunder Palace Master's heart trembled. He had lived for a few hundred years and had never seen such a terrifying genius. No, such a terrifying monster. Even Yen Kuangtu, the genius who had shocked the eastern wilderness 100 years ago, was not this terrifying. Kill him. If I don't kill him, I will die. The Thunder Palace Master's heart was filled with fear. It was the fear that Lu Ming had brought to him. As expected, he is still a little weaker than a LV9 Martial King realm. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. With his combat strength, he could easily kill a peak LV8 Martial King realm martial artist. However, there was still a gap between him and a LV9 Martial King realm martial artist. Lu Ming, I have a way to increase your strength and kill that old man. At this moment, Dandan's voice was heard. What is it? Lu Ming asked. I am the head of the top 10 battle beasts, and have lived for a very long time. Not only am I invincible in terms of combat strength, but so is my inscription Dao. I will now inscribe an inscription formation on your body that will make your true origin go berserk in an instant, and double its strength. In this way, you will be able to suppress that old man. Moreover, this method will not have any side effects. Dandan explained proudly. Nonsense, hurry up. Lu Ming yelled. Take a few moves first, and I will inscribe it. Immediately, Dandan's front claws shone brightly as it waved them around. Sizzle! With a flash of lightning, the Thunder Palace Master turned into lightning and appeared in front of Lu Ming in an instant, slashing down with his sword. Clang! Lu Ming blocked with his long spear, but his body was knocked back continuously. Thunder kill! The Thunder Palace Master used his killing move. The Thunder Sword stabbed out and the air was instantly scorched by the power of thunder and lightning, forming a space zone. Extreme Strike! Clang! Two powerful attacks clashed together. At the point where the spear and sword collided, a blazing light burst out. It was even brighter than the sun. Swish! Lu Ming's body shook violently. His blood and chi were in turmoil as he was sent flying a few thousand meters away. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Dandan, are you done? Lu Ming asked. Cough, cough, wait a minute. I failed just now. Dandan coughed dryly. Nestle! Lu Ming wanted to curse. Dandan was too unreliable. He actually failed to inscribe the inscription. Was he trying to trick him? Nestle failed again. Dandan muttered. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only fight back and fight with the Thunder Palace Master. Explosions continued. After 5 to 6 moves, Lu Ming's body was in pain. Die! The Thunder Palace Master was in a frenzy. The aura on his body was getting stronger. Dandan, are you done? Lu Ming asked again. If not, he planned to use the Thunder Cauldron to kill the Thunder Palace Master. Haha, I'm done! Dandan laughed. At this moment, Lu Ming's body suddenly emitted rays of light. Lines of gorgeous inscriptions appeared on Lu Ming's body. At this moment, Lu Ming felt the true yuan in his body circulating crazily. Compared to before, it had increased by more than twice. So strong! Lu Ming felt that he was filled with endless energy. At this moment, the Thunder Palace Master attacked again. Kill! Lu Ming roared and pulled out his spear. Buzz! The space shook violently. The spear formed an arc and heavily struck the Thunder Palace Master's battle sword. Bang! Chapter 574. How is this possible? The Temple Master of Thunder Palace exclaimed in disbelief. He racked his brains, but he could not figure out how Lu Ming had suddenly become stronger. Could it be some kind of secret technique? The Temple Master of Thunder Palace thought quickly. Below, the Temple Master of Fire Palace was also dumbfounded. Nest, I almost forgot. The cultivation technique that Lu Ming cultivates is not to be underestimated. When he uses this inscription, his strength will increase by more than 2 times. Dandan muttered. Kill! Lu Ming performed the 9 dragon sky stomping steps and appeared in the sky above the Temple Master of Thunder. He looked down from above and smashed his long spear toward the Temple Master of Thunder. Boom! Under Lu Ming's violent true essence, the spear radiance was as heavy as a mountain and smashed toward the Temple Master of Thunder. The Temple Master of Thunder roared and condensed a lightning giant with a lightning sword in his hand. He was like a god descending from the heavens as he slashed his sword upward. Boom! Lu Ming's spear radiance was unstoppable and exploded. The lightning giant collapsed and the violent force blasted onto the Temple Master of Thunder. The Temple Master of Thunder was like a meteorite as he smashed into the ground, creating a huge pit that was hundreds of meters wide and dozens of meters deep. In the next moment, the Temple Master of Thunder rushed out of the huge pit. At this moment, the Temple Master of Thunder's hair was disheveled and his clothes were tattered. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, and he looked extremely miserable. Ha ha ha, old man Jing, you finally have a day like this. Ha ha, since Yen Kuang to 100 years ago, another peerless genius has appeared in the mysterious sky east. The Temple Master of Fire Palace laughed heartily. Immediately after, the vitality in his body slowly dissipated and finally returned to nothingness. The temple master of Fire Palace left in laughter. Damn it! The temple master of Thunder roared and then turned to run. He knew that he could no longer kill Lu Ming and could only run. Want to run? Kill! Lu Ming performed the 9-dragon sky-stomping steps and chased after him. His long spear trembled and spear radiance burst out. The temple master of Thunder had no choice but to turn around and desperately resist. Watch me! Dandan leaped up from Lu Ming's shoulder and roared. Then, its 4 limbs and head retracted into the turtle shell. The turtle shell spun in the air and smashed towards the Thunder Palace Master's face. The Thunder Palace Master shot out countless lightning bolts, but they were useless against the tortoise shell. The tortoise shell passed through the layers of lightning bolts and smashed towards the Thunder Palace Master's face. Thunder Palace Master was already experienced. He quickly retracted his hand, wanting to slap Dandan away. However, Dandan spun in the air and quickly dodged Thunder Palace Master's palm. Bang! A tortoise shell slammed into the Thunder Palace Master's face. The Thunder Palace Master let out a blood-curdling scream as he retreated. A clear mark of a tortoise shell had appeared on his face, and blood was flowing out from it. Extreme Dao Strike! Lu Ming seized the opportunity and used his Extreme Dao Strike, piercing through the Thunder Palace Master's heart with his spear. The Thunder Palace Master roared, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Be on your way! The long spear trembled, and a violent force exploded, tearing the Thunder Palace Master's heart and organs into pieces. I can't accept this! The Thunder Palace Master roared as he breathed his last. The evils you bring upon yourself are the hardest to bear! Lu Ming snorted coldly. The 9 dragons' bloodline appeared and devoured the Thunder Palace Master's essence blood. Following which, he took off the Thunder Palace Master's storage ring. Lu Ming stepped forward and arrived before the Fire Palace Master. The Fire Palace Master had already breathed his last, but there was a carefree smile on his face. Lu Ming sighed. The dignified East Branch Palace Master had died in the hands of the Thunder Palace Master, who was also a Palace Master. It was truly lamentable. Senior, rest in peace. I've already killed that old man, Palace Master Lei. Lu Ming muttered. He used his true yuan to absorb the Fire Palace Master's storage ring. Then, he dug a hole and buried the Fire Palace Master's corpse. Mysterious yellow silicon soil! Lu Ming looked at the mound. Ha, how is it? I wasn't wrong, right? There is mysterious yellow silicon soil here. It can be considered a great fortune for me to guide you. However, the 7 stalks of 7 knot grass belong to me. Dandan placed its 2 front paws on its turtle shell and looked proud. Its black eyes stared at the 7 stalks of 7 knot grass. No, I can't give you the 7 knot grass. Lu Ming rejected it directly. What? You can't give it to me? Lu Ming, you ingrate. I was the one who guided you to find the mysterious yellow silicon soil. Do you know how precious it is? Ah? Also, I was the one who helped you deal with the Thunder Palace Master. Don't you know how to repay me? I was severely injured and needed the spiritual grass to recover. Are you that petty? Dandan was enraged. It pointed one of its claws at Lu Ming and spat out a bunch of words. Lu Ming was speechless and said, I'll give you 1 stalk. No, 2 stalks. Dandan shouted. Okay, deal. Lu Ming immediately agreed. Dandan grinned as if it had been cheated by Lu Ming. Then, Lu Ming dug up the 7 stalks of 7 knot grass and gave 2 stalks to Dandan. Dandan picked them up and ate them as if they were carrots. It looked like it was enjoying it. Lu Ming was speechless. He didn't believe that Dandan was a peerless expert. Then, Lu Ming took out a huge pill furnace. This pill furnace was found in the storage ring of someone else. Lu Ming put all the mysterious yellow silicon soil into the pill furnace. 500 kilograms. There was a total of 500 kilograms of mysterious yellow silicon soil here. It filled the pill furnace to the brim. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. If this amount of mysterious yellow silicon soil was released to the outside world, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. countless inscription masters would go crazy. Lu Ming carefully planted the Enlightenment ancient tree into the mysterious yellow silicon soil. After planting it, Lu Ming waved his hand and a huge pile of spiritual herbs and spiritual flowers appeared in the air. These were all low-grade spiritual herbs that he had obtained from others. Most of them were level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 spiritual herbs. They weren't of much use to Lu Ming. Lu Ming pressed his palm and a majestic true yuan exploded. The spiritual herbs were instantly destroyed and turned into dust. Then, Lu Ming's true yuan turned into 2 true yuan giant hands that grabbed the spiritual herbs and squeezed them. Drops of spiritual liquid appeared and dripped onto the mysterious yellow silicon soil. The mysterious yellow silicon soil could turn the spiritual liquid into its own energy to nourish the spiritual herbs and spiritual herbs planted on it. After squeezing a few thousand spiritual herbs, Lu Ming stopped and kept the mysterious yellow silicon soil in the Temple of Paragon. Dandan, do you know where this is? Lu Ming looked at Dandan. At this moment, Dandan had already finished eating the 2 7-knot grass. It was lying in the air with its 2 front paws on its head and its legs crossed. It had a leisurely expression on its face. I don't know. Although the aura of this world feels familiar, I was too badly injured back then and forgot about it, Dandan said leisurely. Lu Ming pursed his lips. He knew this would happen. This guy was too good at bragging. With a flash of his figure, Lu Ming flew in the same direction as before. He continued to look for a way out. Wait for me! Chapter 575. This land was extremely vast. Lu Ming flew for 3 days straight, covering a distance of several million li. Along the way, Lu Ming did not find any profound crystal veins that could be excavated. Although this land was rich in profound crystals, they were limited. Some regions had more, while others had less. Along the way, Lu Ming found many traces of excavation. Obviously, they had been excavated. During the flight, Lu Ming converted all of the Thunder Palace Master's essence blood into bloodline power. Although the essence blood of the 9th layer Martial King was abundant, it still did not allow his 9 dragons bloodline to reach the 8th level of the Martial King realm. The amount of essence blood needed to level up one's bloodline was terrifying. Therefore, Lu Ming did not use the essence blood he had devoured to increase his cultivation. Instead, he used all of it to improve his bloodline. At this moment, Lu Ming felt a salty wind blowing. Lu Ming was startled and increased his speed. Rumble! Rumbling sounds came from ahead, as if huge waves were sweeping across the sky. At the same time, the salty wind became stronger. As Lu Ming flew, the rumbling sounds became even more intense. It was simply deafening. Not long after. Is this the ocean? Lu Ming stood on a cliff and looked into the distance, dumbfounded. In front of him was a boundless ocean. Huge waves surged into the sky and were extremely violent. The lowest waves were a few 100 meters high. The tallest waves were even 1,000 meters high. In the sky, dark clouds covered the sky. Thunder rumbled and the wind howled. It was like the end of the world. Is this really the ocean? Lu Ming had never seen the ocean since he was young, but he had heard of it. However, he had never heard of the ocean being so violent. Not to mention ordinary people, even martial Dao experts would not be able to survive in the ocean. Lu Ming looked for a while. Occasionally, he could see huge sea beasts rolling in the ocean. Lu Ming frowned and looked for a while. Then, he quickly flew along the coastline. However, along the way, the ocean was the same. They were all violent. Lu Ming flew for 3 days. They were all the same. This coastline is circular. Could it be an island? Lu Ming speculated. Lu Ming, based on my experience, this should be an island. You are all tied up on an island, Dandan said. Island. If I rush out of the island, I might be able to see other people. Perhaps I'll be able to find a way back. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he flew towards the sea. Boom! Raging waves crashed against the shore and strong winds swept across. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He discovered that the astral winds on the sea were incomparably terrifying. They were like divine weapons that constantly slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming used his quintessential essence to protect his body, but his quintessential essence consumption was extremely severe. At this rate, Lu Ming would not be able to fly far before his true essence was completely exhausted. Helpless, Lu Ming could only fly back to the coast. I refuse to believe that the seas in all directions are this violent. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and continued to fly along the coastline. 10 days. Lu Ming had been flying for a total of 10 days. He reckoned that he had circled around half the island. However, all he saw was the same. It was extremely violent. This made Lu Ming rather speechless. Lu Ming was a little anxious. There were still 2.5 months until Mulan's wedding, but he still had not found a way out. Lu Ming, you can only focus on cultivating now. Perhaps one day, an outsider will come to this island. Then you will be able to leave, Dandan said. That's all I can do. Lu Ming sighed. No matter what, strength was the best way to go. Moreover, with his current cultivation, even if he could leave, he would not be a match for the sacred star. He would only be able to fight the sacred star if his strength increased, and he managed to leave. After that, Lu Ming stopped at the coast and entered the Temple of Paragon to comprehend the lightning concept. Lu Ming's lightning concept had already reached the limit of first-level minor completion. After another 5 days, Lu Ming's lightning concept broke through and reached first-level major completion. This was a threshold. First-level major completion was the symbol of a major completion king. Lightning concept has reached first-level major completion. Now I'll use profound crystals to raise the other 2 concepts. Lu Ming took out a mid-grade wind attribute profound crystal. Now that Lu Ming was rich, he planned to use a mid-grade profound crystal to break through. Crushing the mid-grade profound crystal, Lu Ming closed his eyes and began to cultivate. 2 days later, Lu Ming opened his eyes. Around him, the wind whistled, forming wind blades. First-level major completion wind concept. Moreover, it was at the middle stage of first-level major completion. The mid-grade profound crystal's effect was too powerful. Normally, mid-grade profound crystals were used by Sea of Soul realm experts to cultivate and comprehend the second-level nature mentality. Therefore, the effect would naturally be huge for the first-level nature mentality. This was also the reason why Lu Ming had the Enlightenment Ancient Tree. Normally, when a martial king used a mid-grade profound crystal, 70 to 80% of it would be wasted. Normally, no one would be so wasteful. However, Lu Ming had the Enlightenment Ancient Tree, so he only wasted 10 to 20% at most. Now, it's fire concept. Lu Ming took out another mid-grade profound crystal and crushed it, beginning to comprehend. 2 days later, his fire concept also broke through to first-level major completion, reaching the middle stage of first-level major completion. The 3 concepts had reached major completion. Lu Ming's fusion of the 3 concepts had reached a frightening level, completely surpassing the peak of a single concept. Moreover, Lu Ming could now break through to the Major Completion King realm. Major Completion King realm! Lu Ming's eyes shone with incomparable expectation. With a wave of his hand, a pile of 200,000 supreme-grade spirit crystals appeared. With a shake of his jinyuan, all the spirit crystals exploded. The 9 dragons' bloodline opened its mouth and sucked, absorbing all the energy of these spirit crystals. Soon, 200,000 supreme-grade spirit crystals were refined. Lu Ming took out another 200,000. The jinyuan in Lu Ming's body became denser and denser, stronger and stronger. He began to break through to the 7th-level martial king realm. Rumble! The jinyuan in his body was like the ocean outside, exploding wildly. Not enough, still not enough. When Lu Ming refined 1,400,000 supreme-grade spirit crystals, he realized that he was still lacking a lot. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and exploded 600,000 supreme-grade spirit crystals in one breath, swallowing all of them, and began to break through. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. 3 days later, Lu Ming suddenly let out a long roar, and a terrifying aura burst out from his body, soaring into the sky. If not for the Supreme Temple, it would have stirred up the clouds in the sky. 7th level Martial King Realm, Major Completion King Realm, finally! Lu Ming laughed. Now, he was finally standing on the same level as Sacred Star. Of course, Sacred Star had reached the peak of the 9th level Martial King Realm a few months ago, and was only one step away from the peak King Realm. He could break through at any time. Lu Ming was still under a lot of pressure. But at least it was fast approaching. With a thought, Lu Ming came out of the Supreme Temple and appeared by the sea. Boom! Chapter 576. The spear light turned into a 3,000-meter-long giant spear, breaking through the gale above the sea and ruthlessly whipping the sea. In an instant, the 1,000-meter-tall giant wave was crushed. In the sea, a giant spear mark appeared, and the seawater collapsed, splitting into two sides. It was as if the entire sea had been split in half by Lu Ming's spear. Boom! After a few breaths of time, a shocking rumble came from the sea. The giant wave rolled over and covered the traces of the spear. My battle strength is at least 5 times stronger than when I was at the peak of the 6th level of the Martial King Realm. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Now, if he were to fight with the Thunder Palace Master, he was confident that he could kill him with a single spear strike even without the help of Dandan's inscription. Now, let's cultivate the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and the 3 ultimate skills of the dragon god in this sea. After the 3 intents reached greater success, the 3 ultimate skills of the dragon god could be cultivated to the 5th level. When the 3 intents reached the peak, he could cultivate the 3 ultimate skills of the dragon god to the 6th level, reaching the peak. Then, Lu Ming focused on cultivating the 2 martial skills. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. During this period, Dandan stared at the sea in a daze every day, as if he was thinking about something. On this day, Lu Ming was cultivating when he suddenly heard battle cries from afar. And the battle cries were approaching the sea. Let's go take a look! Lu Ming's figure moved and flew in that direction. Dandan hurriedly followed. In front, 5 figures were flying toward the sea. Their bodies were covered in blood, and their faces were filled with fear. Among the 5, 3 were experts of the Xian family in the ancient desolate city, and they were all at the level of King Realm. The other 2 were the 2 guardians of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. One of them had an extremely powerful aura, and he was actually at the 7th level of the Martial King Realm. The guardians of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace were usually at the peak of the 6th level of the Martial King Realm. Obviously, this guardian's cultivation had broken through during this period. However, his face was still filled with panic. Haha, you can't escape. Die! Behind them, dozens of zombie guards were chasing and laughing. They were unhurried, like a cat catching a mouse. One of the zombie guards had reached the peak 8th layer Martial Emperor Realm. After running for a while, they were almost at the seaside. The sea is ahead! The 2 protectors of the Xian family and the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace were filled with despair. Ha ha ha, let's see where you can run to now. A zombie guard burst into laughter. Stop running. Today, all of you are going to die and become our refined corpses obediently. Didn't that palace master of your Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace already become our refined corpse? The zombie guard with a cultivation of the peak 8th layer Martial Emperor Realm sneered. Today, you will be the ones to die. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the direction of the seaside. Everyone was taken aback. They looked in the direction of the sea and saw a beam of rainbow light flash by. In the next moment, a young man of about 20 years old appeared. His eyes were as cold as a sharp sword. It was Lu Ming. Lu Ming, it's you? Run! You're no match for them. A green-robed protector shouted when he saw Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming stepped forward and faced the zombie guards of the Heavenly Corpse sect. Ha ha ha, another kid has come to die. A zombie guard with a cultivation of the peak 6th layer Martial King Realm sneered and controlled 2 refined corpses to attack Lu Ming. Die! Lu Ming flicked his finger and 3 spear lights flew out, directly piercing through the glabella of the zombie guard and the 2 refined corpses. The zombie guard opened his eyes wide in disbelief. He had not expected Lu Ming's spear lights to be so fast that he could not block them at all. Kid, you're courting death. The zombie guard with a cultivation of the peak 8th layer martial king realm roared with killing intent. The other zombie guards also surrounded Lu Ming. What should we do? The people of the Xian family and the 2 protectors stopped in the distance with complicated expressions. There are 2 king realm experts and 5 refined corpses. Lu Ming is definitely no match for them. If we go up, we will be killed. A protector said. That's right. Let's take this opportunity to leave. A middle-aged man from the Xian family said. As for the others, their eyes flashed with hesitation. Let's go. Once Lu Ming is dead, we won't be able to leave. The middle-aged man from the Xian family urged. Okay. Let's go. The others gritted their teeth. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. A huge flood dragon emerged from Lu Ming's body. It opened its mouth and sucked. Drops of essence and blood flew out from the bodies of dozens of zombie guards and then fell to the ground one by one like raindrops. Only the 2 King Realm zombie guards were not dead, but their faces were also pale. The Xian family and the 2 protectors were in disbelief. Damn it, how dare you kill the people of the Heavenly Corpse sect? You're courting death. The zombie guard with a cultivation of the peak 8th layer martial king realm roared and controlled the 3 refined corpses to attack Lu Ming. That's the Earth Palace Master. Lu Ming found that one of the refined corpses was very familiar. It was the Earth Palace Master. Ha ha, this is one of the palace masters of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. He was killed by our experts and turned into a refined corpse as a reward. What do you think? Isn't he powerful? The zombie guard with an 8th layer martial king realm sneered. Die. Lu Ming swept his long spear and the 2 corpses of the 8th layer martial king realm were sent flying like cannonballs and smashed into the ground. Then, he took a step forward and the power of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps exploded. The other 7th layer martial king realm martial artist and his 2 refined corpses exploded. Ah, how could this be? The zombie guard with a cultivation of the peak 8th layer martial king realm screamed in fear. Not far away, the 3 people from the Xian family and the 2 protectors who were about to escape were dumbfounded as they watched this scene. Lu Ming had killed the zombie guards who had made them run for their lives without any effort. He was unimaginably powerful. Gulp! The middle-aged man from the Xian family swallowed his saliva and was covered in cold sweat. Don't come over. The zombie guard screamed and controlled the refined corpse of the palace master of the Earth Palace to block in front of Lu Ming. At the same time, he ran for his life. Humph! Lu Ming took a step forward and his figure flashed. He passed by the palace master of the Earth Palace and appeared behind the zombie guard. He stabbed his long spear into the zombie guard's waist and came out from his dantian. True Yuan exploded and the zombie guard's dantian exploded, destroying his cultivation. Once his cultivation was destroyed, the corpse of the palace master of the Earth Palace stopped moving in the air. Don't kill me! The zombie guard screamed and begged for mercy. Speak, where are the rest of you? Lu Ming asked. In a plane 100,000 miles ahead. I beg you, let me go. The zombie guard begged for mercy. Buzz! With a shake of the long spear, the zombie guard was torn into pieces. With a wave of his hand, dozens of storage rings flew into Lu Ming's hand and disappeared. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to grow so much in such a short time. At this moment, the 3 people from the Xian family and the 2 protectors flew over. One of the protectors said with a smile, Yeah, I've lived for a few hundred years. Young hero Lu Ming is the strongest genius I've ever seen. Chapter 577. Lu Ming nodded calmly. Without saying anything, he flew to the corpse of the Earth Palace Master. Although the discussion between the 3 from the Xian family and the 2 protectors was some distance away, Lu Ming still heard it. The characters of these 5 people were not good, so Lu Ming did not want to say more. The five of them looked at each other, and followed behind Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his hand and a surge of true yuan covered the body of the Earth Palace Master, removing the aura and inscription marks left behind by the corpse refining sect. The Earth Palace Master turned into an ordinary corpse. Then Lu Ming dug a hole nearby and buried the Earth Palace Master. Lu Ming, what do you plan to do next? Why don't you come with us? One of the protectors said and looked at Lu Ming with hope. Lu Ming's battle strength was too strong. If Lu Ming could come with them, they would be much safer. Sure, I'm going to the gathering point of the zombie guards. Do you want to come with me? Lu Ming had a faint smile on his face as he looked at the three from the Xian family and the two protectors. Going to the gathering point of the zombie guards? Are you crazy? There are more than 300 zombie guards there, and there are also 3 9th-layer Martial King zombie guards in the Great Success stage. They are controlling the Dragon Corpse. Going there is suicide. The middle-aged man from the Xian family yelled. Oh? Then you're not going? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming, it's too dangerous there. You should go somewhere else with us and see if you can find a way out, one of the protectors said. If that's the case, then go ahead. Lu Ming waved his hand and said. He did not have a good impression of these people. You, Lu Ming, don't think that you can look down on others just because you have some strength. I'm not going to die with you, the middle-aged man from the Xian family said and turned to leave. The other 4 people's expressions changed and they left with the middle-aged man from the Xian family. Lu Ming smiled faintly, not caring at all. Lu Ming cupped his fists at the mound of the Earth Hall Master, then turned around and headed inland. 100,000 miles away, there was a plain. On the plain, there were many huge coffins. Corpse-chi filled the air. This was the gathering point of the Heavenly Corpse Sex Corpse Guards. Who is it? As soon as Lu Ming arrived, he was discovered. A zombie guard controlled 2 refined corpses to appear. The people who will kill you! An icy voice sounded out. With a flick of his finger, a spear light shot out and nailed the corpse guard to death. A sneak attack! A loud roar was heard, and the entire plain was in an uproar. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out as corpse guards and refined corpses flew out of the coffins. In a short while, several hundred corpse guards and even more refined corpses appeared in front of Lu Ming. Alone? Why are you alone? You dare to launch a sneak attack alone? You're courting death. Attack! Kill him! Some corpse guards yelled and controlled the refined corpses to pounce at Lu Ming. Lu Ming stood motionless in the air. With a wave of his hand, more than 10 spear lights shot out. They were so fast that those below the Greater Success King stage couldn't react in time. Puff! 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 More than 10 sharp blades pierced through the bodies, and more than 10 corpse guards were killed. Among them, there were even 2 6th-layer Martial King experts. So strong! The other corpse guards were shocked and couldn't help but retreat. Get out of the way. This person is a Greater Success King. You're not his match. A shriveled voice sounded, and an old zombie guard appeared. Beside him were 2 middle-aged corpse guards. Roar! Roar! With 2 roars, 2 huge demonic corpses appeared in front of the old corpse guard. In addition, there were 2 strange refined corpses. They wore armor and held spears, which were different from the other refined corpses. However, they both emitted powerful auras. They were both 9th-layer Martial King refined corpses. Further behind, there were 2 ordinary refined corpses wrapped in iron chains. They also emitted powerful auras of 9th-layer Martial King. There were 3 9th-layer Martial King corpse guards and 6 9th-layer Martial King refined corpses. This could be said to be the strongest force among the corpse guards attacking the ancient desolate city. You're all here. Good, I don't have to find you one by one, Lu Ming said with a cold gaze. Little guy, you're so arrogant. Looking at your aura, you just broke through to the Greater Success King stage not long ago. How dare you say that you want to kill us? You're overestimating yourself. Kill! The old corpse guard sneered. Then, A huge demonic corpse roared and pounced at Lu Ming. The demonic corpse's eyes were blood red, and its body was filled with a murderous aura. It pounced forward, bringing with it a fierce wind. The wind thunder spear appeared in his hand, and he swept it out. A huge spear light appeared, surrounded by 3 different wills of heaven and earth. Bang! The huge demonic corpse, like a doll, was swept away by Lu Ming's spear. The corpse guards around could not dodge in time and were sent flying by the huge body of the demonic corpse. Some corpse guards even exploded. So strong? All the zombie guards at the scene, including the 3 ninth-layer Martial Emperor Realm zombie guards, stared with their eyes wide open and their mouths agape. The 9th-layer Martial King demonic corpse was stronger than ordinary 9th-layer Martial King refined corpses. Its body was invulnerable and had infinite strength. However, it was easily swept away by Lu Ming's spear. It was too terrifying. "Let's attack together and kill this man!" the old corpse guard roared. Roar! With a roar, the 3 ninth-layer Martial King corpse guards joined forces. The remaining 5 ninth-layer Martial King refined corpses pounced at Lu Ming with shocking power. At the same time, some other corpse guards controlled the refined corpses to attack Lu Ming. "Kill!" Lu Ming uttered a roar as his true chi rumbled and his aura soared into the sky. The bloodline of the 9 dragons appeared as he opened his mouth and inhaled. Immediately, over 50 corpse guards nearby were devoured and fell to the ground. At the same time, he swung his spear like an invincible general. Bang! 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 The 5 ninth-layer Martial King refined corpses were swept away by him. Currently, Lu Ming's strength had surpassed the 9th-layer Martial King realm and was approaching the peak Martial King realm. "Not good, control the dragon corpse!" The old corpse guard screamed as he and the other 2 9th-layer Martial King corpse guards backed away rapidly while performing hand seals, emitting a corpse aura. Roar! A dragon's roar could be heard as a huge dragon corpse ran out from the depths of the valley. 3 9th-level Martial King zombie guards flew to the head of the Flood Dragon's corpse. They controlled the Flood Dragon's corpse and charged toward Lu Ming. Meanwhile, Lu Ming's bloodline of the 9 dragons unleashed a terrifying devouring force, slaying over 50 corpse guards. Of course, Lu Ming did not let go of any of the storage rings. "Die!" The old corpse guard roared as the dragon corpse swiped at Lu Ming with its claw. The space seemed to be unable to withstand the pressure, and began to tremble violently. Wherever the dragon claw passed, the air rapidly compressed and exploded. "Let's see how strong you are! True Dragon Strike!" Lu Ming unleashed his full strength, and stabbed forward with his spear. A tricolor True Dragon collided with the Flood Dragon's corpse. A shocking explosion was heard as a powerful force swept in all directions. Some of the corpse guards nearby were directly torn apart by the force and died on the spot. Chapter 578. After the tricolor True Dragon was defeated, Lu Ming's figure retreated 1,000 meters. His chi and blood surged as he spat out a mouthful of blood. "What a strong power! This Flood Dragon was definitely a peak existence in the Sea of Soul Realm when it was alive." Lu Ming wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and stared at the Flood Dragon's corpse with a serious expression. This Flood Dragon's corpse was extremely strong and invulnerable. The 3 zombie guards did not display much of the Flood Dragon's strength, but the attack just now should have reached the peak king level. Previously in the ancient Desolation City, more than 10 king-level experts were controlling it together. That was how powerful it was, almost approaching the Sea of Soul Realm. For this kind of powerful refined corpse, the more people it controlled, the more strength it could display. "So strong?" On the Flood Dragon's corpse, the 3 zombie guards were also shocked. "Continue!" The old zombie guard roared and continued to control the Flood Dragon's corpse to attack Lu Ming. "Do you think I will still fight force with force?" The corner of Lu Ming's mouth revealed a trace of a mocking smile. His figure flashed as he rushed toward the other zombie guards. The devouring power of the 9 dragons' bloodline crazily erupted, and the zombie guards were devoured one after another, falling here. "Damn it!" On the flood dragon's corpse, the 3 zombie guards controlling it could not catch up with Lu Ming's speed at all. Lu Ming used the 9 dragon sky stomping steps. With one step, he covered 10 miles in a flash. Large numbers of zombie guards were harvested by Lu Ming like weeds. Soon, more than 200 zombie guards were killed by Lu Ming. A total of more than 300 zombie guards. How long had it been? More than 200 had died. The remaining zombie guards screamed in fear and fled in all directions. Whoosh! Suddenly, Lu Ming took 2 steps and appeared above the flood dragon's corpse in a flash. He stabbed his spear at a 9th layer Martial King zombie guard. The zombie guard roared in fear and burst out with corpse chi, forming more than a dozen corpse chi shields in front of him. But it was useless. The spear pierced through and the shield exploded. The zombie guard's head also exploded like a watermelon. At this time, the flood dragon's claw reached toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming swept his spear and hit the flood dragon's claw. He borrowed the force and floated back. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Not good, let's go! Go! There were still 2 9th layer Martial King zombie guards left on the flood dragon's corpse. They were terrified and did not dare to fight with Lu Ming. They controlled the flood dragon's corpse. Of the flood dragon's corpse. And of them did not dare to fight, if they did not escape. Or. There was a sneer on Lu Ming's lips. Those people ran to the sea in a panic. They were courting death. He was not in a hurry to chase them. He used the 9 dragon sky-stomping steps to chase after the zombie guards in other directions. After a while, dozens of zombie guards were killed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming then chased toward the sea. He used the 9 dragon sky-stomping steps. His speed was extremely fast. Soon, he saw the people of the Heavenly Corpse sect who were fleeing. He's coming! Run, run! The old zombie guard's face was ugly. He frantically controlled the flood dragon's corpse to escape. Rumble! The deafening roar of waves came from ahead. The sea! The old zombie guard's face changed. The other zombie guards were in the same situation. Go to the sea! The old zombie guard roared. They had the flood dragon's corpse. They planned to rush into the sea and take a gamble. As long as they hid in the flood dragon's corpse, they might be able to survive in the sea. They rushed towards the sea at top speed, but when they reached the shore, they stopped. Boats. They saw boats. In the depths of the sea, they saw 3 huge boats, sailing toward them. Even Lu Ming stopped in his tracks, a look of shock in his eyes. If there were boats, did it mean that they could leave this damned place? Lu Ming stopped chasing the zombie guards. The 3 boats were sailing toward them at high speed. They were getting closer and closer. Lu Ming and the others were more and more shocked. Those were not ordinary boats. They were clearly 3 warships. Each of them was extremely huge and shaped like an awl. The deck alone was more than 1,000 meters above the water. They were black and seemed to be made of a strange metal. Some strange creatures were engraved on them. Lu Ming had never seen them before. On the vast ocean, the terrifying waves and violent winds were completely ineffective against the 3 warships. The 3 warships came riding the wind and waves. Haha, we're saved. We can get out. Some zombie guards laughed wildly and rushed toward the sea in ecstasy. They were getting closer and closer to the sea. No, no! On Lu Ming's shoulder, Dandan had a suspicious look in her eyes and she kept muttering. What's wrong? Someone's coming. It means that we can leave this island. Lu Ming's eyes showed a trace of expectation. No, I'm familiar with the aura of these 3 warships. It seems to be the aura of my enemy, Dandan whispered, as if trying to recall something. But he couldn't think of anything at the moment. Lu Ming, trust me. Retreat, it's dangerous, Dandan said with a rare solemn tone. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, revealing a look of contemplation. In the end, he retreated dozens of miles and appeared on a cliff, looking into the distance. At this time, the warships were getting closer and closer. As they got closer, they could feel the terrifying pressure from the warships. The flood dragon's corpse was huge enough, but in front of the huge warships, it was like a reptile. Rumble! The waves were broken, and the 3 warships stopped dozens of miles away from the sea. Many zombie guards looked at them eagerly. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this time, figures flew out of the warships and appeared in the sky above the sea. What's that? Lu Ming's eyes suddenly narrowed, revealing a look of shock. The figures that rushed out of the warships were not human at all. Although they were in human form, each of them was more than 2 meters tall and covered in black scales. In terms of body shape, they were somewhat similar to the scaled demons of the scaled demon plane that Lu Ming had seen before. The difference was that these figures had 2 sharp horns on their heads that emitted a sharp light, and there was a third eye between their eyebrows. The general is right. There is indeed something strange happening on Horizon Island. Some reptiles have appeared. A burly 3-eyed creature spoke, and what he said was exactly the same as what Lu Ming and the others had said. How did these reptiles appear? Did they come from the primordial realm? It's very possible. Amazing, really amazing. The reptiles of the primordial realm actually came to the heavenly realm. Haha, take them down and hand them over to the general. We must ask them how they came here. Maybe we can find the entrance to the primordial realm. Some of the other 3-eyed creatures spoke one after another. After that, about a dozen of the 3-eyed creatures moved and rushed to the shore. Then, with a wave of their hands, their claws rapidly enlarged and grabbed at the people of the Heavenly Corpse sect. So strong! Chapter 579. He found that the dozens of 3-eyed creatures were all stronger than him. More than half of them were definitely peak-level kings, and the other half were simply terrifying. Their auras were deep like an abyss, and they were much stronger than peak-level kings. Sea Spirit Realm. Those were definitely peerless experts of the Sea Spirit Realm. It was terrifying that so many peerless experts of the Sea Spirit Realm had appeared all of a sudden. Oh no, run! At this moment, the zombie guards of the Heavenly Corpse sect were shocked. They screamed and fled frantically. But where could they escape? A giant hand covered in scales reached out and grabbed the dragon's corpse without any resistance, including the 2 9th-layer Martial Emperor Realm Corpse guards on it. They were grabbed by the 3-eyed creature like tiny insects and tossed into a jar. The bottle was not big, but it threw the 200-meter-long dragon into it. Stop, let's talk nicely. We're disciples of the Heavenly Corpse sect. A zombie guard shouted. What Heavenly Corpse sect? A bunch of pathetic bugs of the primordial realm. The primordial realm will be conquered by our clan sooner or later. A tall 3-eyed creature laughed loudly. With a grab of its large hand, several corpse guards were caught and thrown into a bottle. Let's go! Lu Ming turned around and ran without hesitation. Being caught by these creatures would definitely not end well. Lu Ming's heart sank. Lu Ming had obtained some information from the conversation between the few 3-eyed creatures earlier. Heavenly Realm? Primordial Realm? Did this place belong to the Heavenly Realm? What was the Heavenly Realm? Wasn't this his original world? How could he go back? What were these 3-eyed creatures? Lu Ming had many doubts in his heart, but he could only run. If he was caught by them, he would definitely not end well. It seems that there are many bugs of the primordial realm on this deserted island. Let's move in groups and catch all of them. Don't leave a single one alive! A 3-eyed creature with a terrifying aura ordered. Yes! The other 3-eyed creatures obeyed. At this moment, the zombie guards had already been caught. The 3-eyed creatures scattered and flew toward the island. Not only that, but another dozen 3-eyed creatures flew out from a warship and flew into the island. Rumble! A 3-eyed living being was flying at high speed behind Lu Ming. It was terrifyingly fast and the space was vibrating. However, he did not discover Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not fly in the air. Instead, he retracted his aura and flew close to the ground. I see you! The 3-eyed being behind him roared and slapped out with its palm. A massive palm print slammed into Lu Ming's right side. Let's go! Let's go! Immediately, several horrified roars sounded from that place. 5 figures appeared, frantically running away. Yeah, it's them. Those 5 figures were actually 3 people from the Xian clan and 2 protectors from the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. Obviously, the 5 of them also saw Lu Ming. Lu Ming, save me, save me. The middle-aged man from the Xian family roared and approached Lu Ming. Nestle. Lu Ming roared in his heart. In order to survive, the other party actually wanted to drag him down. Originally, the three-eyed being did not discover Lu Ming. Now, he was discovered. Damn it! Lu Ming roared and soared into the sky. He executed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and his speed increased explosively. However, this way, the risk of being exposed also increased greatly. Lu Ming, you're not saving us. You'll die a horrible death. Seeing Lu Ming leave, the Xian family's man shouted in despair. So noisy. A large hand grabbed the 5 of them and threw them into a bottle. Interesting worm, you run quite fast. Let's see if you can escape from my grasp. A cold light flashed in the three-eyed being's eyes as it chased after Lu Ming. Its speed was terrifyingly fast and was actually not slower than Lu Ming. Lu Ming, hurry, the other party is catching up. Dandan urged. I know. Don't be noisy. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and executed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps to the extreme. 3 steps in a row, his speed was unbelievably fast. However, the three-eyed being was still following closely behind him. That three-eyed being is extremely powerful. Judging from its aura, it's infinitely close to the Sea of Soul Realm. I'm definitely not its opponent. Once I'm entangled by it, when the other three-eyed beings arrive, I'll be dead for sure. Lu Ming's mind turned rapidly. Dandan, aren't you the reincarnation of a peerless expert? Is there any way? Lu Ming could only turn his attention to Dandan. Of course there's a way. I'll engrave an inscription formation on your body to conceal your aura. This way, your aura will be completely concealed, and the other party won't be able to sense you at all. Then, you'll find a place to hide, and I'll engrave another inscription formation to isolate your aura. Dandan rolled his eyes and said, Then hurry up. Lu Ming shouted. Then, Dandan waved its claws and began to engrave. Lu Ming continued to chase. Ha ha, Tanbu, you can't even catch up to a worm. Do you want me to help you? At this moment, a voice sounded not far away, and another three-eyed being appeared. You don't need to interfere. I'm enough. The three-eyed creature that was chasing after Lu Ming shouted. Oh, then I'll leave it to you. The other three-eyed being smiled and flew away. Lu Ming let out a long breath and continued to fly. Soon, he had flown hundreds of thousands of miles. Dandan, why aren't you done yet? Lu Ming asked. Cough, cough, I just failed. Hold on a little longer. Dandan coughed a few times awkwardly. Thuck. Lu Ming was speechless. Along the way, Dandan had failed 5 times. Lu Ming seriously doubted whether Dandan could do it or not, and whether it was tricking him. Hey kid, what's with your expression? Are you doubting me? I'm one of the top 10 battle beasts. My battle strength is unparalleled. I'm proficient in inscriptions, alchemy, and refining. There's nothing I don't know. How dare you doubt me? If I wasn't injured back then, I could kill these ants with a blow of my breath. Dandan shouted. I believe you, I believe you. Hurry up! Lu Ming was speechless and could only grit his teeth and run. After a while. Okay, haha, I did it! Dandan shouted. There were lines of inscriptions on Lu Ming's body. They were extremely beautiful. Is it really useful? Lu Ming expressed his doubts. Nonsense, of course it's useful. You can't sense it, but others can't sense a trace of your aura. Even Sea of Soul Realm experts can't sense it, unless they surpass the Sea of Soul Realm. Dandan said with a face full of confidence. Okay, I'll believe you. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and continued to fly. Soon, a lake appeared in front of him. Lu Ming dived into the lake without thinking. The lake was very deep as 1,000 meters. After Lu Ming rushed into the lake, he quickly descended to the bottom of the lake and condensed a long spear in his hand. The long spear spun rapidly and drilled into the bottom of the lake like a drill. Chapter 580. As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the hole, his true yuan burst forth, and the hole behind him collapsed. It was covered by the mud at the bottom of the lake, and it was impossible to see the hole at all. Lu Ming rushed to the bottom of the lake for no other reason than to use the lake water to block the three-eyed creature's vision. Boom! Not long after Lu Ming drilled into the bottom of the lake, the three-eyed creature arrived and directly rushed to the bottom of the lake, stirring up monstrous waves. However, when it rushed to the bottom of the lake, it did not find any trace of Lu Ming. Even his aura could not be sensed at all. Damn it! The three-eyed creature roared. An energy that was completely different from true yuan emanated from its body, wreaking havoc at the bottom of the lake. The lake water was turbulent, and countless creatures in the lake were killed. Blood dyed the lake red. Under the ground, Lu Ming activated his true yuan, spinning his true yuan spear, and kept drilling down. Rumble! A deafening roar came from above. Lu Ming knew that the three-eyed creature had arrived. Lu Ming did not bother to pay attention to it, and drilled down with all his strength. His speed was extremely fast. Soon, he had drilled down a few hundred meters, and then he changed direction and drilled forward. After drilling for a few hundred miles, he dug out a cave underground. Lu Ming planned to stay here for the time being. Kid, my inscription formation is not bad, right? Now I'll carve a formation around this cave. I guarantee that the other party will not be able to find you even if they search this island. Dandan was extremely proud. Then, he began to carve inscriptions around the cave. Lu Ming let out a long breath, his brows furrowed tightly. This time, it was fortunate that it was not a Sea of Soul Realm three-eyed creature chasing after him. Otherwise, he would definitely not be able to escape. He originally thought that he had seen the hope of getting out, but now, he was in despair. Also, how was Xian Xiang? With her cultivation, it would be disastrous for her to land on this deserted island. Sect Leader Xian, it seems that I have to let you down. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Then, Lu Ming threw away all other thoughts and circulated the true dragon battle arts to heal his injuries. Previously, he had exchanged a few blows with the flood dragon's corpse and was slightly injured. About half an hour later, Lu Ming's injuries were completely healed. Boy, the inscription formation has been carved. Don't worry. Dandan appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. Dandan, you said earlier that you were familiar with these creatures. Think about it again and see if you can find any clues, Lu Ming said. Now, he could only place his hopes on this unreliable little turtle. Sigh, I was injured back then, and there was a problem with my memory. I can't remember much, but I vaguely remember that they were my enemies. The place I lived in should be in this world, the Heaven Realm. Dandan frowned as he pondered. Heaven Realm, what kind of place is the Heaven Realm? Could it be a plane? Lu Ming said. Of course not. I vaguely remember that the Heaven Realm should be a main world, and the world you are in should be called the Primordial Realm, which is also a main world. The two worlds are twin worlds. The two worlds complement each other. Heaven Realm? Primordial Realm? Twin worlds? Lu Ming was confused. Could the so-called gate of heaven in my world be the gate to this world? Lu Ming guessed. He finally knew why Dandan was expelled from the gate of heaven. Sigh, I don't remember much. Don't ask any more. When I remember, I will naturally tell you. Now you should hide here for the time being and cultivate well, Dandan said. Lu Ming nodded. For the time being, that was all he could do. Then, Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon. With a wave of his hand, a large pile of storage rings appeared beside him. There were more than 200 of them. Lu Ming hadn't counted the storage rings that he had obtained during this period. Since he had time now, he might as well count them. So many storage rings. How many arcane crystals could there be? Lu Ming was full of anticipation. Immediately, he counted them one by one. It took him more than a day to sort through all of them. Lu Ming was completely dumbfounded. There were too many arcane crystals. Lu Ming counted. There were a total of 18 types of arcane crystals. The total number of arcane crystals was 230,000 pieces. Adding the 30,000 pieces he had before, there were 260,000 arcane crystals. 260,000 arcane crystals. What kind of concept was that? Lu Ming's heart trembled. Moreover, Lu Ming noticed that some people had very few arcane crystals in their storage rings, while others had a lot. This was normal. This island couldn't be filled with arcane crystals. Some places had more arcane crystals, while others had less. The area that Lu Ming had passed by earlier probably had more arcane crystals. 260,000 arcane crystals. Lu Ming estimated that more than half of the island's arcane crystals had fallen into his pocket. Among them, there were more than 15,000 arcane crystals of wind, fire, and lightning. There were more than 20 arcane crystals of the three types. So many arcane crystals were enough for Lu Ming to use for a while. In addition, there were more than 10 million top-grade spirit crystals. During this time, many people's intent had improved. They must have refined a lot of top-grade spirit crystals. Otherwise, there wouldn't only be so many. As for the other things, there were even more, piling up like a mountain. With so many arcane crystals, I don't have to worry about wind and fire. Cultivating them to the peak of the first level won't be a problem. However, the lightning intent will be a problem. Lu Ming frowned and pondered. The lightning cauldron would devour the lightning intent from the arcane crystals every time. This gave Lu Ming a headache. Otherwise, with so many resources, Lu Ming would be able to reach the peak king level in a short time. Now, Lu Ming could only focus on comprehending the lightning intent. As long as he could comprehend the lightning intent, his cultivation base would increase rapidly. Then, his consciousness sank into his sea of consciousness. Lu Ming began to focus on comprehending the lightning intent. Time passed like the wind. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During this month, rumbling sounds could be heard from the ground. Those three-eyed beings hadn't left yet. In this month, Lu Ming focused on comprehending the lightning intent. His progress was terrifying. A month of cultivation for him was equivalent to nearly 10 years of cultivation for an ordinary person. In such a long time, Lu Ming had comprehended the lightning intent to the peak of the first level greater mastery. He was only one step away from the peak of the first level. However, this step wasn't so easy to break through. After comprehending the lightning intent to this point, Lu Ming stopped and began to use arcane crystals to break through the wind and fire intent. Lu Ming directly used mid-grade arcane crystals. 7 days later, after using 2 mid-grade arcane crystals, his wind and fire intent had reached the peak of the first level. Now, let's start to increase my cultivation. Lu Ming waved his hand and a large amount of top-grade spirit crystals appeared. He began to use them to increase his cultivation base. The number of top-grade spirit crystals needed to reach the 7th level of the Martial King realm was even more terrifying. It required 800,000. He spent 2,400,000 top-grade spirit crystals to reach the peak of the 7th level of the Martial King realm. Then, he used another 2 million to break through to the 8th level of the Martial King realm. In this way, Lu Ming continued to improve. The speed of his improvement was enough to scare other cultivators to death. In half a month, Lu Ming used up all the top-grade spirit crystals he had. Lu Ming's cultivation base finally reached the peak of the 9th level of the Martial King realm. Chapter 581. Then, Lu Ming spent another 10 days to cultivate the 5th level of the 3 arts of the Dragon God. Lu Ming's battle strength had reached its peak. At this time, Lu Ming stopped cultivating because he was getting more and more anxious. He couldn't cultivate at all. There were only 10 days left until Mulin's and Xingxing's wedding. Lu Ming couldn't calm down. No, I have to find a way out. I can't be trapped here forever. Lu Ming pondered and decided to go out and explore. With his current battle strength, as long as he didn't encounter a Sea of Soul Realm expert, escaping would be no problem. Kid, you're finally going to get out. After this king has been racking his brains for a while, this king has finally thought of a way to get out. Dandan lay on Lu Ming's shoulder and crossed her legs, speaking leisurely. A way out? What is it? Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. When you came in, it should be because of the ancient Desolation City. Then, you can only rely on the ancient Desolation City to get out. As long as you find the ancient Desolation City, I'll study it. Maybe I can find a way out. Dandan explained. Ancient Desolation City? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then, he frowned and said, Although the ancient Desolation City also entered this world, I don't know where it is. It should be on this island. I'll have to rely on you to find it. Dandan said. All right. Now, he could only rely on this method. Lu Ming condensed a long spear in his hand. The long spear spun and drilled into the ground. After a while, Lu Ming drilled out of the ground. Lu Ming restrained his aura and observed the surroundings. Everything was condensed, but there was no movement. Could it be that the three-eyed creature has already left? Lu Ming pondered and was about to soar into the sky. At this moment, Lu Ming's expression changed. He restrained his aura and hid. In the sky, a tall figure flew towards the island at an extremely fast speed. Wasn't that the three-eyed creature? The three-eyed being hadn't left yet. Since the three-eyed being had not left, it would be difficult for Lu Ming to find the ancient desolate city. At this moment, a few more figures flew over from afar. It was also a three-eyed creature. Quick, the leader discovered an ancient city in the depths of the island. It's very likely that it has something to do with the appearance of those reptiles here. Let's hurry over. Quick! Several voices came from the sky. Lu Ming's expression changed greatly. Ancient city? Could it be that the three-eyed creature has discovered the ancient desolate city? Lu Ming's face was extremely ugly. If the three-eyed creature discovered the ancient desolate city, it would be troublesome. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and used his movement technique. Sticking close to the ground, he quickly followed the three-eyed creature. Along the way, they flew at an extremely fast speed. In just one day, they had flown a distance of 2 million li. A huge mountain forest appeared in front of them. It's that forest! Lu Ming recognized at a glance that the forest in front of him was the one he had seen when he first entered. Lu Ming was even more cautious as he withdrew his aura. This was because there were extremely powerful beasts in the forest. However, along the way, Lu Ming did not encounter any powerful beasts. Those that he did encounter were extremely weak. What's that? Not long after, Lu Ming passed by a place and discovered that it was in a mess. The ancient trees had collapsed, and there were huge pits everywhere. He could even see giant palm prints on the ground. There were also some bloodstains on the ground. Could it be that the three-eyed creature has already killed the powerful beast here? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Sure enough, along the way, they could see some potholes from time to time. They were all traces left behind by great battles. After traveling for another half a day, the three-eyed creatures suddenly came to a stop. Lu Ming sensed that there was a terrifying and powerful aura in front of him. There were at least 200 of them. There were a few dozen auras that were extremely terrifying, like an immeasurable ocean. Lu Ming did not dare to move forward. He retreated for 100 miles. Dandan, engrave those aura-concealing runes for me, Lu Ming said. All right, I'll help you again. However, in the future, if you encounter any high-level spirit herbs or natural treasures, don't forget about me. I need to recover. Dandan took the opportunity to offer a price. Cut the crap. Hurry up or I'll throw you out. Lu Ming glanced at Dandan and threatened. You! Kid, you win! Dandan gritted his teeth. In the end, he had no choice but to engrave the runes for Lu Ming while cursing. After failing 3 times, he finally succeeded. Runes appeared on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming immediately rushed into the sky and hid in a cloud, looking into the distance. In front of him, a huge black ancient city sat in the middle of the forest. The ancient desolate city! It's really the ancient desolate city! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. However, the current ancient desolation city was different from before. Now, the ancient desolation city was surrounded by a layer of light that enveloped it. There were many tall figures surrounding the ancient desolation city. There were more than 200 tall figures, and they were all three-eyed beings. The weakest of the 200 three-eyed beings was equivalent to a peak-tier king. When they gathered together, their aura was extremely terrifying. "All right, almost everyone is here. Now, let's attack together and break the light barrier," a voice sounded. "Yes, leader," the other three-eyed beings all responded. Boom! Boom! Then, terrifying auras exploded. More than 200 three-eyed beings emitted a terrifying black light. All kinds of weapons appeared, and terrifying attacks landed on the light barrier of the ancient desolation city. Boom! Boom! More than 200 three-eyed beings attacked at the same time. The scene was extremely shocking. Heaven and earth seemed to be boiling as they were completely drowned by the powerful attacks. However, that light barrier held on, continuously releasing rumbling sounds, producing ripples like water. However, it really did hold on, not being broken through. "Continue!" A loud roar sounded, and the three-eyed beings attacked crazily again. Wave after wave of attacks landed on the light barrier, causing the light barrier to tremble more and more violently. It seemed like it would collapse at any time. "Use your divine eyes to attack!" the voice ordered again. Then, Lu Ming saw that the third eye of each three-eyed being was emitting a bright light. Beams of light shot out like divine swords that landed on the light barrier. Pun! The light barrier seemed to be unable to withstand the pressure, and collapsed with a boom. "Haha, finally broken. Let's rush in and see what's behind it." A three-eyed being laughed and rushed into the ancient desolation city. However, as soon as he rushed into the ancient desolation city, his face was filled with fear. He screamed and his burly body exploded. This made the other three-eyed beings who wanted to rush in change their expressions. "What's going on?" Many three-eyed beings stopped in their tracks and were shocked. "Who's inside?" Chapter 582. Sigh. At this moment, a sigh was heard from the ancient barren city. This sigh was filled with desolation and helplessness, as if it came from ancient times. "Who would have thought that after such a long time, the Divine Eye clan is still in the Heaven Domain? Has the Heaven Domain really been defeated?" Another sigh was heard from the ancient barren city. "Who is it? You know quite a lot. Let me tell you, the Heaven Domain is completely under the control of the Divine Eye clan. Only a few people are still resisting. Soon, the Divine Eye clan will be able to open the entrance to the Yuan realm. By then, both the Tian Yuan realm and the Heaven Domain will be under the control of the Divine Eye clan," the leader of the three-eyed creatures said. In the ancient barren city, the voice was silent for a long time. "Stop pretending to be mysterious and rush in!" the leader of the three-eyed creatures yelled. Suddenly, dozens of the three-eyed creatures rushed into the ancient barren city. Clang! At this moment, a sword chime was heard, and a sword chi flashed out from the ancient barren tomb. Poof! Poof! Dozens of the three-eyed creatures were cut in half, including two powerful sea spirit realm beings. This time, the three-eyed creatures' faces changed. Patter! Patter! Deep footsteps were heard from the ancient barren tomb. The sound was not loud, but strangely, it spread far and wide. Then, three figures walked out from the ancient barren tomb. Now, Lu Ming's eyesight was so good that he could see clearly even if he was a few hundred miles away. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly focused. Xian Xiang, Xian Feng! Among the three people, Lu Ming saw Xian Xiang and Xian Feng. Xian Xiang and Xian Feng had been in the ancient barren tomb all this time. What was going on? In front of Xian Xiang and Xian Feng, there was a middle-aged man with disheveled hair. He was very handsome, but he looked weathered. The clothes he was wearing were very strange, and it was definitely not what was popular now. "Who are you?" the leader of the three-eyed creatures yelled. "I'm just someone who is lucky to have survived." The middle-aged man sighed softly, then looked around and said, Since you have met me, consider yourself unlucky. I'll send you on your way. Shameless! Let's attack together. The leader of the three-eyed creatures roared. Then, the third eyes of all the three-eyed beings lit up and shot out beams of divine light towards the middle-aged man. This was especially true for the three-eyed creature leader, who was unimaginably powerful. The divine light he shot out directly pierced a large hole in space. Clang! In the next moment, the sound of a sword chime rang out. The middle-aged man didn't move at all, but his eyes lit up, and a sword light flew out from his right eye, sweeping in all directions. Poochie! Around the ancient desolation city, all the three-eyed living beings were like scarecrows, unable to put up any resistance. They were all sliced in half. That included the leader. One sword dead. In the distant clouds, Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Heavens, he was too strong. Where did this middle-aged man come from? At this moment, the middle-aged man looked in Lu Ming's direction and said indifferently, "Little guy, have you seen enough? If you have, come out." Lu Ming smiled bitterly, glanced at Dandan, and said, "Your inscription is useless." "Nonsense, that person is not simple. Why do I find him familiar?" I can't remember, Dandan muttered. Lu Ming ignored Dandan and flew out, flying towards the ancient desolation city. "Lord Lu Ming!" Xian Xiang saw Lu Ming, and she was overjoyed. "Lu Ming!" Xian Feng's eyes flashed, and he was also surprised. "Ha ha, Xian Xiang, brother Xian Feng, I didn't expect to meet you here. Who is this senior?" Lu Ming flew to the front of Xian Xiang and the other two, and cupped his fists at the middle-aged man. "Lord Lu Ming, it's great that you're fine. This is the ancestor of the Xian family." "No, it should be the ancestor of the Xian family. The blood essence of this senior was integrated into the Xian family," Xian Xiang hurriedly explained. "I see." Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Swoosh! At this moment, the middle-aged man suddenly appeared in front of Lu Ming. His eyes were like the stars in the universe as he stared at Dandan. "Oh my God, what are you trying to do? I'm the leader of the top 10 beasts. I'm unparalleled. Don't you dare have any ideas about me." Seeing the middle-aged man staring at it, Dandan screamed in fear. It hugged Lu Ming's neck tightly with its 4 claws and retreated into its shell. "I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this." The middle-aged man sighed continuously. He then looked at Lu Ming, and his eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. "And the 9 dragons' bloodline. This little guy is quite lucky," the middle-aged man exclaimed. Lu Ming's face changed drastically, and he was shocked. The middle-aged man could see through his 9 dragons' bloodline at a glance. Didn't Supreme 9 Suns help him seal it? Judging from his aura, he couldn't tell that it was the 9 dragons' bloodline. This man could see through it at a glance. "Little guy, don't be nervous. Although the 9 dragons' bloodline is rare, it's useless to me." The middle-aged man smiled. "Lord Lu Ming, the old ancestor is repairing a teleportation array to return to the Yuan realm. You came at the right time. Let's go back together." Xian Xiang walked over and said, "We can go back?" Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and he was overjoyed. "Yes, there was a teleportation array in the desolate ancient tomb, but it was destroyed. The old ancestor has been repairing it all this time," Xian Xiang said. "Wait for me here. There are a few ants. I'll go deal with them," the middle-aged man said. As soon as his voice fell, the middle-aged man disappeared. Lu Ming was right beside him, but he couldn't feel how the middle-aged man disappeared. It was as if the middle-aged man wasn't there in the first place. But in the next moment, the middle-aged man suddenly appeared again. It didn't even take 2 breaths. "It's been settled. Come with me." Having said that, he walked toward the desolate ancient tomb. This is too fast." Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Lu Ming guessed that the middle-aged man should have gone to deal with those battleships, but this speed was too terrifying. "Lord Lu Ming, let's go!" Xian Xiang pulled Lu Ming and walked toward the desolate ancient tomb. Xian Feng didn't speak and followed in. After entering the desolate ancient tomb, The door of the desolate ancient tomb closed. Inside the desolate ancient tomb, it was extremely large and spacious, like a great hall. In the hall, there was only an ancient bronze coffin that was open. Behind the ancient bronze coffin, there was a small altar. The middle-aged man came to the side of the altar and formed a seal with both hands. Inscriptions entered the altar. Lord Lu Ming, the teleportation array will be repaired in 1 day. Let's wait, Xian Xiang said. All right. Xian Xiang, have you been here all this time? Chapter 583. Many people from the Xian family had entered. Why were only Xian Xiang and Xian Feng here? Lu Ming was curious. Yes, I fainted after I was sucked into that door. When I woke up, I was here with big brother Xian Feng, Xian Xiang said. As if she saw the curiosity in Lu Ming's eyes, Xian Xiang explained. Old ancestors said that big brother Xian Feng and I have the strongest bloodline and inherited most of old ancestors' bloodline. Therefore, old ancestors saved the two of us and taught us cultivation. Lu Ming was enlightened. So that was the case. By the way, Lord Lu Ming, how is my father? Xian Xiang suddenly asked, looking at Lu Ming with hope. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. As expected, Xian Xiang still asked. Lu Ming didn't know what to say. After pondering for a while, he decided to be direct. Sect Master Xian has fallen. Then, the storage ring that Xian Long gave him before he died appeared in his hand. Sect Master Xian asked me to pass this to you before he died. Father! Xian Xiang cried out in grief, tears streaming down her face. When she was kidnapped and saw that Xian Long was severely injured, she was already mentally prepared. However, after confirming it, she was still extremely sad and couldn't stop crying. Lu Ming didn't know what to say and could only stand at the side in a daze. Heavenly Corpse Sect, damn it! Xian Feng walked over, clenching his fists and growling. After a while, Xian Xiang stopped crying and said, Big brother Xian Feng is right. Sooner or later, I will flatten the Heavenly Corpse Sect. Lu Ming looked at Xian Xiang and Xian Feng. The Heavenly Corpse Sect was so huge that it could compete with the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. It wouldn't be easy to flatten it. However, Xian Feng and Xian Xiang had the guidance of the middle-aged man. It might be possible. Immediately, Lu Ming, Xian Xiang, and Xian Feng started chatting. Xian Xiang and Xian Feng found out from the middle-aged man that this was the Heaven Realm, and their realm was called the Primordial Realm. Lu Ming wanted to ask for more information, but Xian Xiang and Xian Feng shook their heads. The middle-aged man didn't tell them more. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. 1. On the second day, the altar suddenly, a dazzling light shone. All right, the teleportation grand formation has been preliminarily repaired. It should be enough to teleport the four of us back to the primordial realm. However, teleportation between realms is extremely difficult to begin with. This teleportation array was set up by the strongest experts of the human race in the ancient era. After the Great War, it was destroyed. Although it has been barely repaired, it can only be used once. After that, it will self-destruct. Also, even if we are teleported to the primordial realm, the chances of returning to the Tianxian domain are very small. We will most likely be teleported to other places. Also, due to the instability, we will most likely be separated. The middle-aged man explained. What? We can't go. Xian Feng. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. There were only about 10 days left until Mulan and Saint Xingchen's wedding. If they were teleported to another large region, how could they rush back? Although every major domain had an interdomain transfer formation, it did not necessarily mean that they would be in a hurry. Lord Lu Ming, are you rushing back to Tianxian domain? Xuanxiang asked. That's right. I have something important to do, Lu Ming said. All right, I will try my best to adjust the direction, but it depends on luck. Let's go up the altar, said the middle-aged man. Everyone went up the altar. The middle-aged man exuded a mysterious aura, which surged into the altar. 1. The altar shook violently, emitting a dazzling light. Then, a vortex appeared above everyone's head. In the next moment, a powerful force acted on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's vision turned black, and he felt like he had entered an endless darkness. After Lu Ming and the group were teleported away, the altar exploded with a bang and turned into fine powder. Hong Domain was located in the west of Tianxianfeng. It was 16 regions away from Tianxianfeng. Hong Domain was vast and boundless. It was 7 to 8 times the size of Tianxianfeng. It was full of talents and experts. It was at least 10 times stronger than Tianxianfeng. Among the hundreds of regions in eastern wilderness, it could be ranked above average. Hong Domain was also a large region under Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. In a remote mountain in Hong Domain, there was an ancient site. At this moment, more than 10 youths were exploring this ancient site. The youths were all in their 20s. Their cultivation was extremely powerful, and each of them was at least in the 6th martial king realm. Among them, 5 or 6 had even reached the greater success king realm. The leader was a blue-robed youth. His aura was extremely dense, and he was a 9th martial king realm greater success king realm. At this moment, they were fighting with a group of yellow puppets. Quick, this is the ruins left behind by the ancient sect, marionette sect. Let's quickly get rid of these puppets and open the last door. The treasure of marionette sect must be behind the last door. We can't let that bitch face Yue get ahead of us. The blue-robed youth shouted. In front of them was a cliff. On the cliff, there was a stone door. Their target was behind that stone door. Pun! Pun! One by one, the yellow puppets were destroyed by them and turned into yellow stones. Roar! Roar! However, a large group of yellow puppets rushed out from all directions. Damn it, go to hell! The blue-robed youth yelled coldly as a scroll appeared in his hand. He opened the scroll, and on it was a drawing of a battle sword. After the blue-robed youth inserted his true chi into the scroll, it emitted a blinding glow. Countless sword intents were fired from the scroll, aiming at the puppets. A large number of puppets were destroyed. Lu Ming sank into darkness. After an unknown period of time, a ray of hazy light suddenly pierced his eyes. Lu Ming opened his eyes and was slightly startled. He discovered that he had appeared in an underground cave. The walls of the cave were embedded with luminous stones, emitting a dim light. Beneath his feet was an ancient stone platform that was engraved with inscriptions. Where am I? How did I end up here? Lu Ming's mind raced and he began to look around. The underground cave was empty, as if no one had been here for a long time. There's a stone door there! At one glance, Lu Ming saw a stone door on one of the walls. Lu Ming walked over and pushed with all his might, but the stone door didn't budge at all. There should be a switch! At that moment, Lu Ming started to search by the side. At this moment, the blue-robed youth and the others had already defeated all the yellow puppets. Hurry up, open that stone door! We have to get ahead of that bitch face Yue! The blue-robed youth shouted. Finishing his words, he rushed to the stone door and pushed with all his might, but it didn't budge at all. What's going on? We actually can't open it. Let's attack together and destroy this stone door! The blue-robed youth shouted. Caw caw! Just at this moment, the stone door moved and opened automatically. Chapter 584. The young man who appeared from the stone door was naturally Lu Ming. Lu Ming was also stunned. He did not expect to see more than 10 young men staring at him when he opened the stone door. Ahem, excuse me. Lu Ming coughed a few times and was about to walk out. Wait a minute, kid, who are you? The leader of the blue-robed young men shouted coldly and stared at Lu Ming unkindly. I am Lu Ming, may I ask where this place is? Which domain is this? Lu Ming cupped his fists and said politely. Lu Ming had just arrived and wanted to find someone to inquire about the situation. He prayed silently in his heart that it would be best if it was in Tianxian domain. Even if it was not, it would be best if it was in a nearby domain. The blue-robed young man's eyes became colder, and he said coldly, "Kid, do you think I'm a fool? Cut the crap. Hand over all the treasures you obtained inside." "Treasures? What treasures?" Lu Ming was stunned. "Don't play dumb with me. Hand over your storage ring and let me check it. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving here today," the blue-robed young man said coldly. Lu Ming frowned and said, "I didn't take any treasures and there are no treasures inside. Now, get out of the way, I'm leaving." "Kid, you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Master Qin is trying to negotiate with you, but you keep making excuses. Are you courting death? I'll give you 3 breaths of time to hand over your storage ring." Beside the blue-robed young man, a skinny young man stepped forward and shouted, "Get lost!" Lu Ming glared at him, and there seemed to be a thunderstorm flashing in his eyes. The skinny young man's face changed, and he could not help but take 3 steps back. Lu Ming sneered and strode forward. You're courting death!" The skinny youth reacted. He had actually been forced back by Lu Ming's glare. He immediately felt that he had lost a lot of face. He roared angrily and clawed at Lu Ming's throat. The skinny young man was a peak 7th layer Martial King Realm Greater Success King Realm expert. He was extremely powerful and would definitely be a top genius in Tianxian City. But the person he met was Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming lifted his leg and kicked out. This kick contained the power of the 9 dragons ascending heaven step. The skinny young man let out a blood-curdling scream as his body was sent flying far away. He fell flat on his face and couldn't get up for a while. "Little brat, you are quite strong. No wonder you could reach the core area of the marionette school. Tell me, who are you? I have never seen you in the Grand City. Which power are you from? How dare you hit a genius of my Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace?" The blue-robed youth's eyes were like lightning as he coldly stared at Lu Ming. "Emperor Heaven Divine Palace." Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he said, "My name is Lu Ming, and I'm from the Tianxian region. I'm also a Tian Divine Guard." "Nonsense, the Tianxian region? Why would someone from the Tianxian region come here? Do you think I'm a fool? How dare you pretend to be a Tian Divine Guard? Are you a spy sent by the Heavenly Corps sect? Tell me honestly, and I'll spare your life." The blue-robed youth scolded. "Forget it if you don't want to tell me. Get out of my way, I'm in a hurry." Lu Ming waved his hand and took a big step forward. Clang! The sound of a sword rang out as the blue-robed youth made his move. A sharp sword light pierced towards Lu Ming's throat like a flying immortal. Fast, accurate, and ruthless. The blue-robed youth cultivated the will of metal and had reached the early stage of the 9th layer Martial King realm. His battle prowess was extremely strong. "Speaking nicely, do you really think I'm a pushover?" Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as a long spear appeared in his hand and swept out. As the spear swept out, the entire area shook and the blue-robed youth's attack instantly crumbled. "Shit, back off." The blue-robed youth's expression changed greatly as he quickly backed off. However, he was still too slow and was struck by Lu Ming's spear. His body was sent flying like a cannonball and only managed to stabilize himself after flying 1,000 meters away. Puff! The blue-robed youth spat out a mouthful of blood as his face turned pale. The others were astounded as they stared at Lu Ming in astonishment. The blue-robed youth's cultivation was at the 9th layer Martial King realm. Even in the Hong City where geniuses were as common as clouds, he would still be considered a top genius. However, he had been sent flying by Lu Ming's spear and ended up spitting out blood. This youth who had appeared out of nowhere was so powerful that they were astounded. Whoosh! Whoosh! At that instant, a piercing sound could be heard as more than 10 figures flew in their direction. The next moment, more than 10 beautiful ladies appeared on the scene. That's right, those who had just arrived were all young ladies in their 20s. Their figures were slim and beautiful. In particular, there was a lady in a white dress who seemed to be in her 20s. Her skin was like jade and her beauty was unparalleled. Her white dress fluttered in the wind as if she was a fairy descending from the 9 heavens. "Kiki, Qin Qingfei, it seems like you've knocked down an iron wall?" The lady in a white dress glanced at the crowd and stopped at Lu Ming's figure for a brief moment before she glanced at the blue-robed youth and said with a smile, "Humph, Fei Xue, you're too late. The treasure of the marionette sect has already been taken by this kid." The blue-robed youth, who was Qin Qingfei, wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth and harumphed. "Oh?" Fei Xue stared at Lu Ming thoughtfully. "The treasure of the marionette sect is not to be underestimated. Fei Xue, aren't you going to take it for yourself?" Qin Qingfei rolled his eyes and said to Fei Xue. He was trying to provoke Fei Xue into attacking Lu Ming. Fei Xue smiled and said, "There are countless treasures in the world. To obtain them, one must have the right opportunity and strength. Since this young man has already obtained it, it means that I'm not lucky enough to obtain it. Why should I force myself?" Fei Xue was extremely perceptive. How could she not know what Qin Qingfei was thinking? How could she fall into Qin Qingfei's trap? Seeing that Fei Xue did not fall into his trap, Qin Qingfei was disappointed and his face turned gloomy. "Kid, I don't care which force you're from. You'd better remember how you dared to injure me." Qin Qingfei looked at Lu Ming and said coldly before he turned around and left. The other youths followed behind him. Lu Ming smiled and did not mind. He had already shown mercy just now. If the other party still did not know what was good for him, then don't blame him. "Young man, how should I address you?" Fei Xue walked towards Lu Ming and cupped her fists. "I'm Lu Ming. May I know which region is this?" Lu Ming asked again. Fei Xue and the other young ladies were stunned. Fei Xue looked at Lu Ming suspiciously and said, "This is the Hong domain. Young man, are you from another region?" "Hong domain?" Lu Ming's expression turned somewhat unsightly. After joining the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Lu Ming had naturally researched the geographical distribution of the Divine Desolate Continent and knew about the Hong domain. The Hong domain was 16 regions away from the Tianxian domain. The distance was several tens of thousands of kilometers. How was he going to return? "Honestly speaking, I'm from the Tianxian domain and am also a divine guard. However, I accidentally barged into an ancient remnant and came here." Lu Ming casually found a reason. If he said that he entered another realm and came here, no one would believe him. "You're from the Tianxian domain and are also a divine guard?" You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.